time. Triton? Not actually sure how I'm meant to pronounce this one exactly. Triton is a map by the Music 246, and again, we haven't seen this one yet in the entire tournament. It's the only map we're yet to see still. So let's kick this off. And we've got to the bottom right-hand side, our Red Protoss player, Patience. And to the top left, Blue Terran is a Bunny from Team Blazer. And as we get this set up, let's have a look around Triton as we get ready to go. So, main base is pretty regular. I'm going to do before I talk about it, I'm going to look for any cool things around the edges of the map. There's, so far on one of the maps we found ourselves, ooh, this one's got a chasm. Ooh, I like that. So far on one of the maps we found ourselves a little beach house on the sides of the map. This one's just got some flora. Nothing too crazy. Okay. Well, let's have a look at the main bases then. The main base looks pretty regular. I always love this sort of third in front of the edge of a main. It obviously gives you some, it really promotes taking this base to stop any play that involves kind of dropping or pushing up into that main from the low ground. So that's always pretty cool, but you still have the choice to move out to the left-hand side. The initial layout of this actually reminds me a lot of Parasite. Like, at a very quick glance, it's like main, into natural, into that base on the bottom, and a base on the high ground a bit more forwards, and a base on the right just in front of the main. So, obviously it's not exactly the same by any stretch, but I just feel like those first 5 bases have a very similar effect. Obviously this base to the right is very different then, and the map in general from that point is very different indeed. There's a lot of different high grounds, the pathing is a lot different, and stuff like that. And as we do see, this probe has just been across the map, sees the barracks, no real worries then, and then pulls back home. In the middle of the map, we have the watchtower here. A couple of line of sight blockers could make things a little interesting, but they're not completely covering like areas, right? It's not all the way across, so just promote certain directions. And there's a few different rocks to clean up. I mean, clean out these rocks will open a pathway. It will make this ramp a little bit more accessible as well. It's just a few rocks that work on too, as we have a little look around this. Robotics facility starting in the main base, so Patience opening up with the robo at the start. We saw him go into that fairly fast prism in that last game against Sol, so maybe something similar once again here. And you have the Reaper from Bunny on the way down to the bottom right hand side. He's got a little gap there that he can jump up into as the Reaper grenade goes down, and he will blast the Stalker back. Just wants to keep the Reaper alive more than anything else at the moment, so backing away with that Reaper, it's a Twilight Council to follow the Robo very quickly here. So getting that Twilight Council up and running, about halfway done at the moment. There's a couple of Hellions now coming out. This is the kind of build I thought Sol was going to do last game, but he turned out to go just into Widow Mines. He skipped the Hellions completely. Medevac on the way up can lift up the Widow Mines. He's got the barracks on Tech Lab already, potential for fast stim. Alternatively, you can swap that racks onto the reactor after the Widow Mines, and then you can, pump out a bunch of Marines, while the factory gets onto the Tech Lab to build a very safe siege tank in the early stages. Hellions run by and they find 2 workers so far in the natural expansion and make that 4. Patience will be able to get back to manning now. 4 probes lost for the first Hellion and a Reaper, and the second Hellion gets out of there alive. It's obviously a big benefit. Quick shout out as well, by the way. Sorry, I've been terrible with my sub shoutouts the last couple of days. Lumberjack coming in with a 2-month resub about 10 minutes ago. Sorry for the delay, dude. Thank you so much for the 2-month resub. Appreciate it. Much love. There's some hype in the chat for Lumberjack. Alright, Observer on the way towards the upper left side, so wants a bit of info as to, well, what is going on here? We have the Widow Mines in the Medevac heading to the right, another Stalker going to warp in, another couple Stalkers going to warp in here from Patience now. So Stalkers warping in, we still have that Hellion sitting in the center on the watchtower. Patience doesn't see this Medevac at all just yet. Now he will. And will instantly start targeting the Medevac, but then has to focus on Widow Mines instead. Probe's actually going to surround a Widow Mine here. Oh my god, that was risky. He still loses 6 wiggers to the next 2 Widow Mines. Now the fact those first 2 Widow Mines went down like that was so important. Oh, he's going to lose the Medevac though. Not a lot of space on the bottom to pull your Medevac into. So kind of just had to go to the right, and was still in range of those Stalkers. 4 more Widow Mines. So I talked about the potential of, getting up a set of, a siege tank. It means that Bunny doesn't have a lot back at home if an attack was to arrive. As we're going to be seeing Patience just coming through, and does see again that medevac. So seeing this, Bunny backs away, doesn't quite get the information about the third Nexus coming down here either. So missing out on that info. As the Robo Bay just about 75% of the way done. That'll be completing very shortly as well. That Blink going to be done shortly also. So all of these upgrades still coming into play. Hellion still on that watchtower for a moment here as the Prism continues towards the upper left. A scan on the top left as well as the medevac loads up for Widow Mines. So now we've got 2 sets of 4 Widow Mines on the map. Oh, he just dropped 2 off here and he catches the Warp Prism with it. That was pretty sick. That was a really cool little play. And as you see that medevac continuing down the right. Okay, so medevac will continue down the right. We see the Observer just sat out here as well. Ooh, that Observer also spotting this medevac. Okay then, well, medevac's ready to go. Stalker's gathered up on that third base. Again, Bunny ready to boost into the main. But there's already Stalkers here. I mean, I guess that's going to be similar to before. The Widow Mines over here do burrow. As we see that medevac will go down, but all the Widow Mines are going to get to go off. He gets 9 probes overall, but obviously this was 2 full medevacs of Widow Mines. 1 medevac's already dead. It's 10th probe as well. That's 8 Widow Mines that he's going to end up losing out on, which is obviously extremely costly. So that's very, very painful. 10 more probes going down. Patience is down by 6, and Bunny looking pretty good. So Monster Meng Mon coming in with the 2-month resub as well. Thank you so much for the 2 months. Appreciate it. Welcome back to the Wardy fam for another month. Appreciate you coming back. Colossus starting up from Patience. Extended Thermal Lance is just over halfway done as well, and that charge also is about to complete. So getting those upgrades all coming through here. And the Colossus continue to come on out. Again, I mean, Patience also has these little deficits of he didn't get his forges started just yet. Resources loss has been in Patience's favor, so it makes up a little bit for the fact that he has been down a bit on probes compared to where you'd want to be. You can see that Bunny's been mining a little bit more. This is the real kind of test, I think, if you can survive this first wave of bio. With 2 Colossus and decent force fields available, you should be able to survive, and then the game goes on from there. As Bunny's own third base is fully saturated, he scans right there. I think he just picked off an Observer. He's been pretty good with that. He's already picked up 2 this game. Man. Good force fields. Exactly what I was mentioning. I mean, if you have good force fields here, the Colossus will just work wonders. You don't, you know, it's not rocket science, right? Good force field splash damage. You can't kill the units that are very dangerous. It's going to go gladly for you, and actually Bunny being chased all the way away as Stalkers blink in after the bio. So Bunny taking quite a lot of damage from this. There's another couple Marauders. Those Stalkers got finding insane amounts of value here. And that resources lost tab is now doubling in terms of what's been lost from Bunny in comparison to what's been lost from Patience. So that's a big difference there. As we see a couple more Vikings on the way out. 2 more starports on the way up here from Bunny, so still getting those up and running. As you see these Stalkers, Sentries, Zealots, and Colossus all coming down to the bottom side of the map. So Patience continue to gather his units together here. There's a 4th base dropping down as well. +1 armor comes in from Bunny, so gets that started up. Continue with the upgrades. He'll end up, he's ahead right now, but he'll end up being even once that armor upgrade finishes, as 1-1 is pretty far along here now from Patience, and obviously he has the Twilight, so he can already go into 2-2 right away as well. But with the 2 extra starports really coming heavily in towards the anti-Colossus play. Doesn't get a reactor or a tech lab on this one. Just bunches, tons and tons of Vikings. I wonder if we see some sort of SCV pull with this amount of Vikings on the way out. 3 starports just seems a little bit overkill. As he pulls a few SCVs from the main. Oh, there they go from the 3rd base as well. So it is an SCV pull that Bunny's setting up into. So wants to hit a good Viking count quickly, so you can hit this time in ASAP before there's extra splash damage brought into play. But that said, I mean, there's already Archons coming through here. Well, let's see how this goes. Observer in the middle of the map. We'll see this entire army coming. We'll see the SCVs as well, as Bunny looks for an attempt to take this army down. SCVs obviously want to go in the front. Vikings are going to try and lead the charge. Just be very careful with those against the Stalkers. It's kind of okay, because if the Colossus are just going to sit in the back, they're not dealing any damage, right? So you're not in a rush to try and get those Vikings on top of them. If the Colossus don't want to fight, well, you know, that's kind of fine for you. A couple of Widow Mines need to start getting burrowed up here as well. They kind of just wander forwards and they don't do anything. Now the Vikings do get on top of the Colossus. The Stalker's a bit too far to the right, so the Colossus will fall. I think Patience. It's close, man, because he has extra Zealots to be able to warp in shortly. Probes are now pulling in as well. He lands the Vikings against Probes and Stalkers. The Vikings will do a lot on the ground. And now we actually see extra Zealots running forwards. Bio still reinforcing, a couple more Vikings showing up too. Again, pushes his way through the Zealots, so it's just the Stalkers remaining. Both players have lost exactly 21 probes on this. Bunny left enough workers at home, so he has a decent little follow-up to this as well. He still has mining available to him. Stalker chasing after Vikings. If he gets another of these, he'll probably start to build up a Colossus again. At the moment, he's just focusing on an Immortal or so, making sure he gets something out ASAP so he can stay alive. And Bioforce now pulling back up the left and into the center. Stalkers, Zealots, Immortal. Just gathering up in the middle here. I'm just going to be seeing the Bio able to pick off the rocks here too, so obviously wants to reinforce a little bit faster down this left-hand side. Now Patience never got a chance to start up 2-2, but he did get Storm, so that's going to be his replacement for the Colossus now. However, Liberator's on the way in as well. Is a pretty good setup now too. There wasn't as many Stalkers left over, and you know, some Liberators to control the areas could go a long way as Force Fields come down, blocking off that Bio at the moment. Vikings will land another wave of SCVs. I mean, if he hits before Storm, this is absolutely perfect and kind of exactly what we need this to be at the moment. So here we go as the Bio will stim in down towards the bottom left-hand side. Already working their way through this Nexus. Army positioned to the right. On the other side of the map, a couple of Zealots, nothing too major. Liberator still sieged up here. Very hard to see that Liberator siege zone on this ground, this snowy ground. There's a Storm. That's what Patience was waiting for here. And we now see the Bio, though, is picking its way through the Zealots quite handily, I feel. SCV is still around as well. There's just no splash damage left over. Extra Liberator showing up. The Archon goes down. That was the only little splash that did remain. And now we're just going to be seeing a continued push forwards with Bunny taking down Patience with one hell of a push. Took a couple of attempts. Let's see what happens. We have to the bottom left-hand side the Blue Protoss player who just didn't quite do much there. So, didn't manage to do much. Patience in the bottom left of that Blue Protoss. So up in the top right, our Red Terran is Bunny. So, Gateway dropping down here from Patience in the bottom left as a probe coming in towards the upper right. Some layer drops down, the Gateway coming down too. And we just see again that probe backing away. SCV coming forward from Bunny. Ready to drop down. An expansion on the natural. So it's going to be a command center first. Very fast expand. And I think Bunny sees this, right? Like he comes in and... Oh, Patience, well... He kind of goes up towards the ramp. He doesn't go up the ramp, so he does just come back and throw down the proxy pylon. Interesting. Bruce Moose 96, thank you so much for the Twitch Prime sub performance in a row as well. Appreciate it. So there we go. Proxied second gateway. Well, what's interesting about this is that actually with the command center first, it will finish a bit faster. And so I'm pretty sure that this happens against like a pool first and TVZ as well, where CC first is actually a bit of a better way to set up because you actually just finish the CC faster, and a lot of what these builds are designed to do is to slow the CC from building, stop it from completing as early, stop the orbital coming up. If the command center is finished faster, then that just isn't a thing. You can see the CC is going to be done before this gateway is even completed, so there's no real way to stop this build. And of course back in the main base, Bunny now has 2 racks to produce from as well, so he's going to be completely fine here. And I actually, well, yeah, unfortunately for Patience, it's just not quite going to go the way that he's going to wanted this to go. So, CC finishes up, orbital morphs in. Obviously, Bunny doesn't know how much pressure this is yet. There's another pylon to the right-hand side. Bunny will now scout across the map. And obviously, as he arrives, he'll get to this point where he sees, okay, well, there's no natural expansion. And that's going to start to maybe tell him a little bit of what's going on. Patience will continue with the aggression, throwing down the proxied robotics facility here. So, proxy robotics facility coming in on the upper right-hand side of the Stalker, moving up the ramp. Marines in position, able to push that Stalker away. And Bunker on the way up now. This Marine gets over to the correct side of the main base wall-off as well. Again, SCV scouts in, sees no natural, sees, well, you know, just one gateway. I see another pylon being built, and he's going to realize there is a heck of a lot of proxying going on here on Operation Lockdown. Seems like Patience wants to put an Operation Lockdown on Bunny and keep him just on one base at the moment. Is the factory on the way up? It's going to be important for Bunny. The factory also always a big structure here in terms of what can build out of it, is always very useful in defense. Obviously, at this point, you don't know what this is exactly in terms of the tech choice from Patience, so Bunny has to be cautious, and he pulls towards the mineral line in case of an Oracle. Very shortly, the War Prism will be out, though, and that will tell Bunny what's going on. He only has a single bunker, so that's a tech lab on the factory, and I do wonder, do we talk about a siege tank here, or do we talk about a Cyclone? I think a lot of the time you expect a siege tank to sit here and defend, but a Cyclone could be very good against a Prism play if he sees it now, because then you have the Prism, you know, the Cyclone to lock onto the Prism, etc. And that can go a long way as SCVs and Marines don't start fighting this. I mean, the SCV is essential to pull in here. You need that extra little bit of damage. Now he's got a Marauder out, which definitely helps. It's a little bit of a wall-off is annoying. He has Marines that keep running the wrong way. Now that Marauder is so useful at this stage, as we see the Stalker's obviously being kept alive and denying mining, but he can lose a bit of mining because he's got a second he can get going again. Now there's an Immortal on the way up. Patience has a probe on the natural as though he wants to expand, but will he expand? That's tough to say. I love that Bunny went for combat shields before Stim. It's something that builds a little bit faster, so that definitely helps out in that regard. But not only that, it's also something that doesn't hurt you as his starport delayed here because of the attack. The combat shields will then help him out a little bit more in terms of, you know, he doesn't have to, you know, give up health to be able to gain a benefit from his upgrade. So combat shields actually works out quite nicely here, increasing that Marine health. And obviously there's a fair amount of Marines on the map already. Bunny supply block though, losing this deep run, still hasn't started another. That's very painful. Supply blocks like that go a huge way to kind of slow you down. As we have got the Mortal having to lift up there again. Stalker in the Sentry still in the War Prism 2. And just continue to push that Prism away. A couple SCVs going to come over and repair up on that depot too. Medevac on the way out. And the siege tank just about halfway done. As you see the extra adepts continuing to warp in. Getting ready to press forward still. I mean, Patience still on one base, 4 gates. He really wants to make this work out here. Again, that supply block huge because it really slows down the time at which you can get the second tank up and ready to go. Tanks have repositioned themselves for the siege, but the Immortal's going to come in from the top. That's going to be very important to kind of try and zone out. You do not want those Immortals to get on top of those siege tanks too quickly. Looks as though he's done it though. The Stalkers over here don't have blink or anything, right? So you can't just blink up into the main. If the Immortals are coming in from the top side, well, I mean, then the Prism's out of position. So it's a bit of a weird little situation, and Bunny again just locked into his single base at the moment. But he's getting into a better spot. His starport is up, so he gets a medevac. He'll go drop across the map, force warp-ins at home. He scans here to see if the army's there. It isn't. So maybe he wants to bring this siege tank a little bit closer to cover the ramp. That's definitely a possibility. See, another depot, another bunker on the way up as well. I still feel Bunny's doing a great job defending. I love this missile turret too. Stops the Prism from coming into certain annoying locations. Finally, Patience will throw down the Nexus, but while there's something Bunny will see, I don't think you go for the Nexus cancel or whatever. I think you just go into the main base and you start to pick away at some of those probers, because the damage here to slow Patience down is going to hurt, especially when Bunny's the one with the faster expansion. There you go, Marines drop off. A couple Stalkers warping in, but I tell you what, I mean, those Marines can just target down the Stalkers. Patience actually types GG. He's losing so many probes here. It might seem a bit quick to type out, but really, the Marines are killing a lot of probes. This army's doing nothing on this side. Stim is about to be finished. That's how long it's taken him to